Welcome to Discovering. Tonight we're king salmon fishing on Lake Michigan with Yooper Outdoors.
This bite will only last a few weeks, and then all these salmon will push up towards the river mouths, at least all the adults, and they go in there and spawn in like August and early September.
And Cody Cass brings us to the first ever Meg's Kids Fishing Derby.
And we sent every kid home with a shirt and a fishing pole.
So sit back and relax. It's Monday night and it's time for Discovering.
The secret streams that flow beneath the cliffs of colored stone. Forests thick and healthy with birch and pine and oak. Surrounded by the greatest lakes this world has ever known. The black bear's awesome presence as he roams the hills and fields. Call of the timber wolf, the loon's lonesome trill, the eagle soaring high above, the trout lies deep and still. These are what I treasure, the only way I measure feelings that I have for this fine land. There is so much to discover when you're a long-time lover of northern Michigan.
Fishing and filmmaking are pretty similar in that they are both a hurry up and wait game. Get all your gear in place, ready and waiting for the action to begin.
What we've been waiting all day for right here. Let's see if it actually pans out how it's supposed to.
It's Friday, July 29th, approximately 9:20 p.m. magic hour, and any minute the reels should be screaming with king salmon.
Good.
Oh.
Good.
All you. Just do you, Jack.
But I'm getting ahead of myself. It's king salmon season on Lake Michigan, and where do you go to fish for kings in the UP? Fairport. Never heard of it? I'm not surprised. This postage stamp of a harbor town is located at the end of the road in the Garden Peninsula. Just a couple dozen houses, 0 stores, a fishery building, and a few docks. Locals rent out their yards for $10 a night to camp during salmon season and $10 to launch your boat. The daily population quadruples this time of year here. Today is a bit quiet, but 2 weeks earlier, I saw over 100 trucks with boats piled onto this spot. I'm headed out onto the lake with John Ron of Yooper Outdoors. You might have heard of him. He's been on the show a handful of times ice fishing and bear hunting. This is the first time I've been on the open water with him. John got his captain's license last year, and this is his first year guiding full-time. And if you are one of the 34,000 people who follow John on Facebook, you know he can catch fish. John has 4 clients on the boat today who thankfully let me on board to film. Ever since I saw those 100 boats head out to salmon fish earlier in July, I've wanted to get out here to see what it was all about.
Well, these big salmon will just rip the board back. Like they'll just take it back. So yeah. Those 20-pound salmon, sometimes they'll like sink the board. Like they'll just oh yeah.
The most popular time for anglers to fish for the kings of the lake is during the annual salmon run, which typically starts in July on the northern portion of Lake Michigan and lasts only a few short weeks. This year it started the second weekend of July. Right now, Chinook salmon are plentiful, aggressive, and large in size as they stage in the warmer waters to feed.
It's like there's this plankton, I guess, in the water, so and the alewives feed on the plankton, and then the salmon feed on the alewives. So the plankton comes up, and then the alewives come up, and then the salmon comes up. And then they're all feeding weeks. This bite will only last a few weeks, and then all these salmon will push up towards the river mouths, at least all the adults, and they go in there and spawn in like August and early September. So October, yeah, you come out here, maybe catch some like cohos or littler kings, but all the big adults will be in the river spawning, and then they die in the river. So yeah,
So they're just in here staging right now.
Yep, they're just filling their face, like eating as much as possible because they know they're gonna die in the next month, and so it's just like deer, like you know how they pig out in October, just try and get as much fat reserves as possible. That's what these salmon are doing.
Really?
Yeah. They're just eating as many of these alewives as they can. Salmon will never live after 5 years old, or technically they're not supposed to live after 5 years old. I'm sure there's like an exception to like a small percentage, but steelhead, browns, lake trout, they'll all spawn and not die, but king salmon die.
Oh.
It'd be awesome if they didn't.
Right?
Yeah. Oh God.
So then you'd probably be catching like 50, 60 pound fish.
To better our odds of catching a pile of kings, John threw a lot of lures out there at various depths on 6 planer boards, 2 dipsies, and 2 downriggers. We're trolling, looking for schools of alewives, find those, and that's where the salmon are.
We're only getting like 1 bite per hour from now until 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. So, and then from like 9 to 10:30, it's just like game on. 3 at a time, hopefully. That's all it took. Walk away from that camera.
Little guy, but we'll take him.
That's a big boy. That's a big boy. All right, who wants this one? Fighting, you want to loosen it up. When he's not fighting, you want to bring him to the boat. You know what I mean? Have you did much salmon fishing, or just a couple times? Okay. Yep. So you can tell when he starts jerking. What I do is so I'll hold her out like this. And when you're not reeling, I keep my thumb right here. Okay. So like let the rod go down, or we'll pump up and then reel down. Pump up. There you go. Pump. Sometimes you gotta tighten the drag up to pump up. Okay. These are big fish, so they're not just gonna come to the boat. You gotta get them here. Well, we didn't get stumped. Yeah, see, now he's fighting more like a 20-pounder does. It seemed like he was coming to the boat pretty easy there for a while. So you want to do is reel down, like reel down, and then pump up. So a lot of times what I'll do is I'll even keep my thumb on here. I'll just pull up real slow, and then reel down. You know what I mean? Drop your rod down, reel down, and then pull up real slow, and then reel down. Keep that dipsy out of the water. So don't let that go back in the water. That's a big fish. That's 25. Pull. Yeah. Nice.
Ooh, that was awesome.
How's your arms feel?
This one's a little sore.
Get it out, babe.
That was awesome.
Fish. still an hour before prime time. Yep.
You got fish we ain't even caught yet.
It's one nice thing about catching them early like this. Like, we're guaranteed a few more. I shouldn't say that, but
We had been on the boat for nearly 4 hours when that first fish finally hit, and then it was on. But before that, we were nearly lulled to sleep by the gentle waves and the hum of the trolling motor.
say 10:30 to 11:30 is when you get a lot more smaller ones.
Really?
They just, for some reason, they come up later than the bigger ones do. A lot of these, like 20-pounders.
Is there a time you got to be off the water? You can fish all night?
You can fish all night. Tonight will be a good night to fish all night.
Let's do it.
John compares it to bear hunting. You sit and wait with bated breath, staring at the same spot for hours until magic hour. That short window where it's either going to happen or it's not.
This is a little king. I had to get that board on quick.
Oh, yeah.
We need 5 fish per episode, so get him in here. All on
We
me.
need 10 fish for an episode, I lied.
Ooh, that's a big fish. That's a 20-pounder. Back up to the field. Take yours over there and start reeling. That's a 300 copper. You got a long ways. All right, start reeling. An episode. Doubled up. Right back by the windshield, right in between them 2 trees. It's you and him now. Let the best man win.
Go ahead, Adam.
Do it. Loosen up the drag a little bit. Alright. Come right over here. Just try and keep your eyes far away from it as you can. Is he tiring you out? He is. See how that hook came right off in the net? That's why you don't ever want to give him any slack. Because as soon as you give him slack, it came right off. There's fish.
False alarm, that was our last fish. We didn't end up fishing all night. John's clients were satisfied with the evening's catch, so we headed to shore where John cleaned those salmon inside the Fairport fishery. I'd say for my first real king salmon fishing trip on Lake Michigan, it was a pretty exciting one. In case you wanted to see what the alewives that these salmon eat look like, here you go.
I had the pleasure of going to the inaugural Mags Fishing Derby put on by Pat Magdaleno from Mags Custom Rods. If you don't know who Pat is, he's been building custom fishing rods in Gwinn, Michigan since 2017. And outside of building fishing rods, Pat's been also building relationships in the community. What was your idea of coming up with Kids Fishing Derby?
I just was thinking, like, I started fishing at a really young age, so I'm starting to see a lot more kids on their phones, on electronics, and just really not doing much. I go to a lake on a weekend and I just don't see enough people, and I build fishing poles, so it's nice to see more kids out fishing. And I just figured I'd talk to my crew, and I was like, let's do a kids fishing day and just see what happens. I didn't know if there would be the interest there or not, and there was a ton of interest, so we ended up just going for it and doing it. This is our first time, but it actually worked out really good, and I'm happy with the way things turned out. We had plenty of kids, caught some fish, we had some lunch, and we sent every kid home with a shirt and a fishing pole, and we had a couple prizes, so it worked out really good.
And to shake things up a little, Pat shuttled groups of kids around to different spots to find more fish.
Oh, you caught a fish? Yeah. He caught a 15-incher.
He got a 15.5-inch bass, and then everyone else got some bluegills.
Wow.
And we were looking at a place to do it, and then my friend Tab Lonergan and his neighbors let us come to his lake and use his property and let everyone fish out of the yard. And I had my boat here, so I was taking kids around the lake, catching some fish, and it worked out really good. It's pulling hard, huh? Oh yeah, oh my goodness.
I gave it this. It's so heavy.
Swing your tip over here, Timmy. Oh yeah.
After a fast start to the morning, with many bluegill being over 9 inches long, the bite was starting to taper off a bit. There were a few desperate anglers out there before lunchtime trying to get that big bite, but as the temperatures were rising, the bite was cooling off. Luckily, Tab had the grill going, flipping burgers, cooking hot dogs. There was also full spread of chips and cold drinks provided by the Mags crew as well. One thing I did notice is that the break from fishing seemed to take a little bit of the competitive edge off. Once the kids got to know each other, they seemed to care less about the fishing and more just having a good time. Some kids took this time to meet new friends, relax, or even cool off a little bit in the lake.
I see the snake!
Somebody catches the snake.
That's what I was on about. How many fish did you catch? 0.
Caught like a 25-inch bass. Mondo.
Yeah, they're everywhere. They're just not biting.
Oh, wait till we get off. No, wait.
I brought my whole crew here, so they enjoyed it. It was good to kind of get them involved and kind of teach the younger generation how to fish, and so we're definitely going to do it again next year.
Even with the fun, laid-back environment, it was still a competition.
But third place is the biggest bass. Jace, you won that, right? 15.5-incher. There you go, buddy. And then second place is Bo with a 9 3/4-inch bluegill. And first place is Jamie. He wins a custom rod and a hat. So all you gotta do is have someone bring in the shop. You get to pick out all your colors and whatever you want.
Back in June, I went out with the DNR during their spring walleye survey on Lake Ogibic. They have completed some of the data work on that survey and have results to share with the public.
A little bit on the low end, but no cause for concern. We were pleased with what we saw in terms of size structure.
Tune in to Discovering next week to hear what those results are and when the DNR will host a public meeting to discuss what they've learned about the lake.
Well, that's it for this week. Be sure to check out 906outdoors.com where you'll find the 906 Fishing Report, TV6 weather, shopping, and more. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you next week right here on Upper Michigan's very own Discovering.